Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Ball Metal Nerd coming at you with another wonderful vid. In this one, obviously you've read the title of this, so you know I'm going to be talking about the state of me in this current year. This year I had a big milestone birthday. I turned 40 back in September. So I thought I would talk about, where I am on life's path at age 40. Because my previous videos I kind of rehashed where I was at 30, 20, and 10, best as I could remember. So I figured this would be a great time to talk about where I am at age 40 and talk about the changes in my life over the last 10 years. So what big changes have I had in my life over the last 10 years? Well, like I said in my last video, I live in the same house that I had 10 years ago, so that hasn't changed. I'm in the same career. I'm still in IT, but obviously at this point, instead of it being early in my IT career, I've been doing it for quite a while at this point. So I'm pretty well established in IT, and my salary has increased quite a bit, and my experience and all of that fun stuff, my qualifications and salary has grown quite a bit since I started in the field. Let's see. Uh, like I said, I did, back in 2008, I was dating my wife. I'm now married to her. We're still together. We got married in 2009. So that happened in the past 10 years. And of course, the probably the largest change that I've had in the last 10 years is, children. You know, Prior to about 4 years ago, I didn't have any. Basically, I have two adopted kids, and one day I get a phone. We get a. Me and my wife, we had gotten a phone call from some quasi relative of hers that needed a place for two children to go for some time period, some way, somehow. I don't know. But we needed to be like somewhat licensed foster parents. What year did this happen? I don't know. This was maybe 2012, 2013, I think, when this all started. So we're like, yeah, okay, all right, we'll look into that. So we did. We took a few classes, and we got to the level where we had to be to watch these quasi relatives of my wife. Well, that never materialized. The children ended up, I think, going back to their birth mother. I don't know. I'm not sure the exact status of those children, but they never ended up with us, right? That never occurred. So whatever. And then at that point, my wife said to me, she's like, hey, since we're basically, I can't remember if we were a quarter or halfway towards being full-fledged foster parents, she's like, do you just want to, you know, take the rest of the classes and go all the way and become a full-fledged foster parent? And I said, yeah, all right. I mean, sure, we can take it all the way, I suppose. So we did. We took it all the way. And then in 2014, we had been foster parents for maybe, like, full-fledged foster parents for maybe about a year or so, I guess, at that point. And previous to having the children in the house that we have now, we had been basically, there was this website that we looked at for Indiana, basically about children who were eligible for adoption. So we were looking at this website and, talking about the children on there, trying to decide which children we should, find out more information on, blah, 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 right? That never really went anywhere. We did go and do a few interviews about a few kids, but none of those ever, they never arrived in our home, right? But one day in 2014, we get a phone call well, more accurately, my wife gets a phone call. Hey, we have these two girls that need a place to go. Can you take them? And all we knew is it was two girls. One was 4 years of age and one was 12 years of age at the time. So my wife said, "Yeah, sure, we'll take the kids." And then a couple hours later, we had two girls. We had a 4-year-old and a 12-year-old. And long story short, with them, basically what happened is, uh, you know, they never went back to the birth parents, and they needed to be adopted, and they asked if we would adopt them, so we adopted those two girls. And at that point, we obviously stopped being foster parents because we had adopted these two girls. I think they were in our house about 2 years when we had. Has it been 2 years? Yeah, I think it's been roughly 2 years since we've adopted them at this point. So they've been continually in our home, though, since 2014. So they've been here for 4 years, but I think we adopted them like 2 years ago. Uh, and it is a very interesting experience going from zero to parent, right? Like, because before I had these two girls in my home, I had zero experience as a parent, right? None. In fact, I hadn't been around kids since I was a kid. So, going from zero to that is quite an adjustment to make. So as far as how are the girls doing? Well, the older one has many, 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 many challenges. The main trouble with the older one is by the time she got here, she was already 12 years old. And obviously, these children came from a fairly bad situation. And despite our best efforts, the older one is. We've really never bonded with the older one like we have the younger one, because, again, the younger one, when they arrived, she was only 4 years old. So with the younger one, it was extremely easy to form a really deep parent-child bond with the younger one because she was only 4. She was, still a real little kid, so bonding with her was a pretty easy matter. The older one, there is a bond, but it's different, and the older one is so hostile towards learning, listening, all of these things, that it's hard to form the same level of a bond with her. Now, we've had her in counseling, we're trying all of these things, but it really doesn't help, frankly. So many challenges with the older one. But overall, I'd say they're both pretty normal kids. Even the older one with her challenges, I think, is relatively normal. So that is by far the biggest change I've had in my life over the last 10 years compared to the previous 10. Of course, unfortunately, in the last 10 years, I've had a couple of pets pass away, which is always tragic. And the other large change in my life, in the past 10 years is my parents split up in 2012. Their marriage had been going downhill since 2007. So my parents split up in 2012. Unfortunately, my mother has MS. So I was kind of forced to help her, per se. And she, and I'm an only child. I don't have any brothers or sisters. So I was pretty much the one to help her. And that was absolute hell in my life for about, I don't know, a year or two, right? I was constantly helping my mom. My mom briefly lived with me. That was ultimate living hell when my mother lived here. And I have, my mother has done many, many, many stupid and foolish things. And I haven't spoken to her now for several months. And it was early this year she cut off contact with me. And I don't think I'll ever speak to her again. That's just reality. And honestly, with the decision she's made, I'm largely okay with that at this point. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at in 2018. So, what do I think my life is going to be like over the next 10 years if I had to guess? Well, uh, unfortunately, I know I will probably lose more pets over the next 10 years, so that will be tragic when that occurs. Uh, that's pretty much guaranteed to happen. Um, I'm going to pay more attention to my health over the next 10 years than I did over the previous 10, simply due to age and other factors. So I'm going to be more mindful of my health over the next 10 years. That's going to be a really important thing for me. As far as my career goes, I'm sure I'll have a few more jobs at least over the next 10 years. That'll happen, and hopefully I can continue to increase my experience and salary. As far as my children goes, my older one will be out of the house at some point over the next 10 years. And as far as my younger one goes, hopefully I can, help her grow and develop into a good person, a productive person, whatever. We'll see what happens, and I'll continue to have the challenges of parenthood. But those are the things that I can reliably predict over the next 10 years. As far as beyond that, of course, there is going to be a huge amount of variation that I cannot account for. So I guess in 10 years, I might look at this and see how accurate I was. But probably pretty accurate because I'm being very general. So anyway, that's it. If you made it through this whole thing, I really, really do appreciate it. As always, if you like this, thumbs up. If you hate me, thumbs down. Share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.